You're sitting on your bed, phone in your hand, screen lighting up your face in the dark. You've typed the message, deleted it, typed it again. Your heart is loud, your chest feels tight, and you keep telling yourself this will be the last time. Just one more message, just one more try. And right before you hit send, something in you hesitates. That pause right there is where everything begins. I want to talk to you about that moment, because that moment isn't weakness, it's awareness waking up. And later, I'm going to explain why that pause is actually your power returning. I'll also explain why the people who benefit most from your chasing are often the ones least capable of meeting you. We'll get to that. For now, breathe. You're not broken for wanting connection. You're human. You're wired for closeness, for repair, for understanding, especially if you spent your life being the one who listens, the one who holds space, the one who tries to make things right. Silence feels cruel to someone like you. No contact feels like punishment. Your nervous system reads distance as danger. That's why it feels so hard. But here's the truth most people never tell you. Silence is not rejection when it's chosen with self-respect. Silence is information. Silence is a boundary that doesn't argue. Silence is you stepping out of the emotional tug of war and letting reality speak without interference. When you stop talking, when you stop explaining, when you stop reaching, something very uncomfortable happens. The noise fades, and what's left is truth. That's why silence feels powerful and terrifying at the same time. It removes the illusion of control. You can't manage how they see you anymore. You can't soften the edges. You can't earn connection through effort. And that scares the part of you that learned love must be maintained through work. I promise I'll explain later why your body reacts so strongly to pulling back, and why it has nothing to do with weakness, and everything to do with early conditioning. Hold that curiosity for a moment. Right now, understand this. Chasing lowers your position not because you're wrong to care, but because you abandon yourself in the process. Every unanswered message, every delayed reply, every vague response chips away at your sense of worth when you keep pursuing. You start negotiating with your standards. You start shrinking your needs. You start wondering what's wrong with you instead of asking what's actually happening here. Stillness is strength. Remember that line. When you chase, the dynamic shifts. You move into a one-down position emotionally. The other person doesn't feel chosen, they feel in control. Not always consciously, not always maliciously, but energetically. And energy matters more than words. The more you lean forward, the more the other person leans back. The more you explain, the less they listen. The more you try to be understood, the less you are respected. This doesn't mean you should play games or withhold to manipulate. That's not what this is about. This is about dignity. This is about self-regulation. This is about recognizing that love cannot be chased into existence. It can only be met. You may have been taught that persistence is proof of love. That if you care enough, try hard enough, stay patient enough, things will turn around. But what if the real lesson is knowing when to stop giving energy to something that isn't giving energy back? What if the bravest thing you can do is not one more message, but one moment of restraint? Later, I'm going to explain what actually happens in the other person's mind when you stop reaching out. It's probably not what you think. And understanding that will change how you experience no contact entirely. For now, let's stay with you. Silence feels hard because you're used to managing emotional space. You're used to being the bridge, the translator, the emotional adult in the room. When you go quiet, it feels like abandonment, even when it's self-protection. Your system confuses peace with loss. That's not intuition. That's conditioning. Stillness is strength. Say it again, not as a slogan, but as a truth your body needs to learn. When you choose silence, you're not disappearing. You're observing. You're giving yourself room to feel what's actually happening instead of reacting to fear. You're stepping out of the cycle where your value is measured by how quickly someone responds to you, and something else happens too. The mask drops. Without your constant presence smoothing things over, patterns become clear. Effort becomes visible. Interest becomes obvious or absent. You stop guessing. You stop decoding. You stop overthinking every word. Silence does that work for you. This is where many people panic and break no contact too early. Not because they truly want connection, but because they want relief. Relief from uncertainty, relief from discomfort, relief from sitting with the possibility that the answer might not be what they hoped. But relief is short-term, respect is long-term. You don't need to disappear forever. You don't need to punish anyone. You don't need to harden your heart. You just need to stop bleeding energy into a space that isn't meeting you. That's not cold, that's clean. As we continue, we're going to talk about what it really means to step back without shutting down. How to hold your ground without becoming bitter. How to let people reveal themselves without forcing an outcome. And how to rebuild trust in yourself so that silence feels less like loss and more like clarity. For now, notice this. The moment you stop chasing, Your nervous system begins to settle. Not immediately. It takes time. But underneath the anxiety, there is relief. Relief from performing. Relief from carrying the emotional load alone. This is not the end of the story. This is the moment you stop interrupting it. When you step back, something subtle but powerful begins to happen inside you first. Your nervous system has been trained to scan for connection, to anticipate, to reach. Stepping back interrupts that loop. At first, it feels wrong, like you're doing something unsafe. But psychologically, you are doing the opposite. You are telling your body that you will not abandon yourself to keep someone else close. That message is medicine. The mind doesn't heal through force. It heals through consistency. When you stop reaching out, you remove the stimulus that keeps the emotional wound open. Every text you send and wait for is like poking a bruise to see if it still hurts. Of course it does. Stepping back gives your inner world a chance to recalibrate. Your thoughts slow down. Your emotions rise and fall without being constantly triggered by their responses or silence. This is how regulation returns. Stillness is strength. Let that land again. Now let's talk about what changes in their mind when you stop reaching out, because this is where many people misunderstand the dynamic. When you're always available, always explaining, always checking in, you become predictable. Your presence becomes background noise, even if they care about you. The human mind adapts quickly. Effort loses its value when it's guaranteed. When you stop reaching, the pattern breaks. The emotional pressure shifts. They are no longer responding to, they are responding to the absence of you. That absence creates space for reflection. Not always longing, not always regret, but awareness. They start to notice what you are providing emotionally. The listening, the reassurance, the energy. And here's the important part. If there was reinvestment, your absence will create movement toward you. If there wasn't, the silence will stretch on. Either way, you get clarity. This is not about making them miss you as a tactic. It's about letting their true level of interest surface without your effort propping it up. When you stop reaching, you stop doing emotional labor on their behalf. You stop carrying the relationship alone, and that's when truth shows up. Stillness is strength. Now, let's be honest about the hardest part. The urge, that wave that hits you out of nowhere. You wake up and your first thought is them. You want to check if they've posted. You want to send something casual, something light, something that doesn't look needy. This urge isn't love. It's anxiety looking for relief. Here's how you handle it without suppressing it or acting it out. First, name it. Say to yourself, this is an urge, not a command. Urges peak and fall like waves if you don't feed them. Give it 10 minutes. Set a timer if you need to. Breathe slower than you want to. Long exhales tell your body you're safe. Second, move your body. Not to distract yourself, but to discharge the energy. A walk, stretching, cleaning one small space. Your nervous system needs completion, not rumination. Motion helps the emotion move through. Third, write what you want to say, but don't send it. Get it out of your head and onto paper or notes. Often, once it's written, the intensity drops. You realize you don't actually want to communicate. You want to be soothed, and you can learn to give that to yourself. Fourth, remind yourself of the cost. Not in a punishing way, but in a grounded way. Ask, if I send this, how will I feel in 1 hour? In 1 day? Most people know the answer. You're not weak for wanting to reach. You're strong for choosing not to when it doesn't serve your dignity. Stillness is strength. Use it here. As you stop chasing, you need something to turn toward, or the mind will pull you back into old habits. This is where many people fail. They stop reaching out, but they keep mentally chasing, replaying conversations, imagining future scenarios, reading meaning into silence. That's still chasing, just internally. What you focus on daily matters. Start with your body. Sleep, food, movement. Regulation creates clarity. When your body is cared for, your mind becomes less dramatic. Then focus on structure. Simple routines, morning light. A task you complete every day whether you feel like it or not. Consistency rebuilds self-trust. You begin to feel solid again. Next, focus on truth. Not the story of who they could be, but the reality of how they feel in this dynamic. Ask yourself honest questions. Do I feel calm here? Do I feel chosen? Do I feel safe being myself? Don't argue with the answers. Also, return to what you postponed while the interests you minimized. The friendships you neglected. The goals you put on hold. Not as a way to prove anything, but as a way to remember who you are when you're not orbiting someone else. This is how you shift the center of gravity back into yourself. When you do this consistently, something changes inside you. You stop waiting. You stop checking. You stop needing the outcome to feel okay. And that's when your energy changes. Not because you're trying to be indifferent, but because you're becoming anchored. Stillness is strength. I want to say this clearly. Stepping back is not about punishment. It's about alignment. You're aligning your actions with your values. You're choosing not to chase someone who is unsure about you. You're choosing to stand where effort meets effort. As we continue, we're going to talk about what happens next, what to do if they reach out after the silence, how to respond without losing yourself again, and what it means if they don't come back at all. Not as a failure, but as a form of closure that frees you. For now, stay here, stay steady. You're not falling behind. You're finally standing still long enough to see clearly. If they come back, this is where everything you've practiced gets tested. Not by what they say, but by how you respond. When someone returns after silence, it can feel like relief, like validation, like proof that you mattered. Pause there. Relief is not the same as repair. Validation is not the same as change. Your job is not to punish or to explain. Your job is to stay aligned. You slow the pace. You do not rush into emotional closeness just because contact has resumed. You watch for consistency, not intensity. You let actions speak longer than words. You keep your life full and your center steady. Boundaries are not walls, they are standards. You don't demand them. You live by them. If something doesn't feel respectful, you don't argue it into place. You notice it and respond accordingly. If they ask where you've been, you don't give a speech. You don't justify your silence. You can simply say you've been taking care of yourself. Calm, clean, true. When you explain less, you invite more respect. When you hold your pace, you see who can walk with you. Stillness is strength. If they want access again, they earn it through reliability, through showing up when it's inconvenient, through listening without deflecting, through meeting you where you are now, not where you used to be when you were overgiving. And if at any point you feel yourself shrinking, overthinking, or performing, that's your signal, not to fix it, to step back again. Now, if they don't come back, this is where your dignity is forged. Not in bitterness, not in pretending you don't care, but in how you close the door internally. Silence in this case is not rejection. It is information. It tells you how much of the connection was sustained by your effort alone. Grief may come in waves. Let it. You're not weak for feeling it. You're human. But you don't chase answers that aren't being offered. You don't keep one foot in the past waiting for someone to change their mind. Closure is not a conversation you're owed. It's a decision you make. You honor what was real without romanticizing what was missing. You thank yourself for how deeply you loved, and then you redirect that depth back into your own life, into your body, your work, your friendships, your future. You stop asking why they couldn't meet you, and you start asking where you can now place your energy so it grows instead of drains you. Stillness is strength. Here is the truth that holds both outcomes. Silence reveals truth either way. If they return with clarity and consistency, you learn that space was needed for honesty. If they don't return, you learn that the bond could survive without your constant effort. Both truths free you. Both protect you from living in illusion. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to recognize it and live accordingly. When you stop pleading for connection, you stop participating in your own diminishment. You rise quietly, and that quiet is powerful. Let me bring this together for you. Stepping back calms your nervous system and restores your center. Silence shifts the dynamic and reveals real investment. Urges are managed through awareness, movement, and self-soothing. If they come back, you move slowly and keep your standards. If they don't, you choose dignity and forward motion. In all cases, you stop abandoning yourself. Stillness is strength. Here is one clear action step to anchor this. For the next 7 days, make a commitment to one daily act that reinforces your self-respect. One thing you do whether or not you hear from them. It could be a walk, a boundary you hold, a task you complete, a conversation you have honestly. Write it down. Do it daily. Let your actions teach your nervous system that you are safe with yourself. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to harden your heart. You only need to stop leaking your energy where it isn't returned. Calm does not mean passive. It means grounded. It means you trust yourself to respond instead of react. You are not losing anything by standing still. You are gaining clarity, dignity, and power. And from that place, whatever comes next will meet you on equal ground. If this spoke to you, watch the next video where we talk about how to rebuild emotional safety and attraction without chasing or self-betrayal.